So this video, it's going to be about my past. I want to talk about all of the great things and that I remember from the past, because all of the negative things in life is just, it can be beautiful when you paint over the ugly. And I, for one, know I've had a really bad past. It might not be the worst. It could possibly be worse than someone else's. But on the contrary, I don't want to remember those things, and eventually they'll always still be in my head. But I'm going forward, and so I want to remember all the good things. And it's hard to remember the good things sometimes, because sometimes we forget about the small things. And right now, I have access to that in my head because for some reason I'm remembering a lot of things, and I don't want to forget them. So that's what this video is for. I remember when I was like 10, my grandma would take us to Summerfest, and this is when they still had rides. I was too afraid to go on the roller coaster, so I went on the mini roller coaster and she would watch me so I wouldn't be scared. And then we would go and I would take a ride on the carousel, and then we would go on the Ferris wheel together. And we would sit there and look at the lakefront and everything, and you know, it was for her birthday and she's taking me out, just me and her, and we'd get corn on the cob and take the trolley back in there. A lot of fun things. I remember one time she took me to a concert, to an orchestra, when I was in high school. I remember friends come in and out of your life, and I remember my first friend I made when I moved to 22nd Street. Oh, but let's just start from where I can remember the most. So my very first friend was Cody. Cody used to live a block away, but he was the nephew of our downstairs neighbor, landlord of the house, and he was nice. Then I made friends with this kid named James and his sister, elder sister Melissa. And then we would play Yu-Gi-Oh! We would just do all kinds of things, have little Beanie Babies collections, and it was fun. There's not really much of the story of Cody I can tell, because we may have done a lot of things together, but we just kind of, friends come and go. So when we moved to 22nd Street, I met my next door neighbor Kendall, and after a while of talking with her and things, she became a really good friend of mine, and she still is to this day. And I remember us sitting on the front porch just talking about things, and it's pretty funny because we would talk about just nonsensical things, and it was in the summer, so there was no school or anything the next day, and we would almost like fall asleep on the front porch because we didn't want to go in my house or her house, so we just wanted to be left alone. And we sat there and we talked, and I remember she used to tell me these scary stories about a guy hopping on a train that was a murderer, or check the baby, and I just, all of these horror stories, and then we would just like laugh and all kinds of stuff. And I remember we had the candy Smarties, and we mashed them up into powder because it tasted better and it looked like we were doing cocaine or something. It was funny. Then I made another friend. These they went to my school with me. I remember the young one, and his name was Kevin. They were an Asian, maybe Korean, and I was friends with them for a year or two, and then they moved away. We went to school together though, and I remember him being in my class. Then when the fourth grade came, I made friends with someone named Cameron, and I'm still friends with him till this day. And then eventually we made friends with the people that moved in where my old friends used to live, Kevin and his brother and his sister. And that was Mohi, and he had a little brother named Nizam, I think. And Cameron's little brother was Edward. And so we'd all play together and roleplay and have sticks and swords, casting spells and things. And then we had gotten the whole neighborhood involved in on this ERP. And so it was like we only had one girl character, and she didn't come in until later when I moved away. But her name was Faith. But until then, it was just all of us guys, and so I would pretend to be a girl for the role plays, naturally, and I played the part very well, and everybody always, wanted the romance story with me, and I had to choose between a whole bunch of people. But anyways, there was another Kevin, and he was Puerto Rican, and then there was a Jason, and Jason didn't like that I favored Kevin over him in the games, so I don't know. I remember Kevin when there was no one home and my brother was gone, like we were all in my house, and he was like, oh, let's play hide and seek in the dark, and he'd always want to hide with me. And then there was this one time he was leaving for a couple weeks to go to Puerto Rico to visit his grandma, and I walked all the way to Pick and Save, which was 7-8 blocks, and across a busy street and everything, and I'm only like 12 years old, 13, and I got us matching necklaces, and so from the vending machine, and it was made out of black granite. And so I gave him it, and he's like, what's this for? And I'm like, one's for you and one's for me, and it's supposed to be our friendship, and that no matter where you are and where I am, we'll always be friends. And he kind of teared up to it, and yeah, I had a feeling that he had liked me, but eventually he moved away, and I was the last person to see him, and after that, he was gone. He didn't come back to visit, even though he said he would. And then eventually I moved away. I made a really good friend. Her name was Bridget. And it was really the only friend that I really had that cared about me in Arizona. And it was such a wonderful experience down there at that school, and she was so amazing, and we talked about how we would do things for Halloween. She'd dress up as Kyrie, and I would dress up as Sora, because Kingdom Hearts was our whole childhood right there. But then I moved back to Wisconsin, and then I made a lot of friends, a lot of enemies. The ones that I'll mention are the ones just so I can go off with my name that I remember. There was Chelsea Lucas, which I made friends with. She was really nice. There was Chelsea Bailey, and she stuck up for me when people would bully me. Jenna Serotic. Debbie Pesky, she's like my other half, my whole of me, and we've been friends to this day of our 7 years almost. Let's see, there was a Melissa Fromm. I was friends with April Jacobson. I was friends with John Stepanski, Clayton Rutherford, Missy, Luke Padula. I had a lot of friends, even though, a lot of things bad had happened, I had a lot of good friends and a lot of good memories, and I loved my French class. There was one day where she took us on a field trip. Her name was Madame, and she was a big part of my life because I could talk to her about anything, and it was like having a therapist, even though I was already going to therapy, and having a second opinion. And she was just like the most one-on-one teacher I could ever have. And my senior year, I didn't have French anymore because I couldn't fit it in my schedule, but my junior year, she took us to Trocadero, and that was an amazing field trip. Even though it was just downtown in the same city, it was so much fun. And I regret, I should have took French in my senior year, because then I could have gone to France. But by not doing that, I had so many good things, knowledgeable things that I learned through psychology, through biology, things that I never had known about the world. So it was more of a cost of, would you rather enjoy an experience in a culture or gain knowledge? And I chose knowledge over traveling. So let's see. I'm trying to remember all the past things, because I don't want to talk about things that happened like a year ago or 2 years ago, because it's still refreshing in my head. I remember when I was really little, I wanted a Barbie doll, and my mom wouldn't give me one. And so my uncle went out and bought me one, because he's like, if he wants to have one, why can't he have one? Because he didn't understand the concept. If I wanted to have a girl toy, I could have a girl toy. So I had a Barbie doll, and that was my favorite uncle. His name was Uncle Mike. He took me up with him to Wisconsin Dells one time because we were supposed to go fishing and camping, and it started raining, and I don't know what the complications were, and we ended up having to come back. I remember watching Steel Magnolias with my great-grandma, watching the Grand Ole Opry, listening to country, enjoying her stories and company about how she moved the outhouse back once so someone would step in the hole, or move a car from a junkyard and put it on some person's random porch. Just how she smoked grass and then actually caught the grass on fire on accident, so she had to water the yard to get the fire off. Memories, as cliche as it is, just like it says in Kingdom Hearts, memories are chains, and chains sometimes can be broken, and sometimes memories can lie to us, and we remember something that never happened, or we want it to happen, and so we pretend it happened, and then we believe the lie. But I don't want to do that. I want to remember what actually happened, and I want to have the chain of memories, of people's memories that live through me, so that when the time comes, I can pass down those memories to someone, and then they can have the memories, and that way, we are all connected. I think I had such a wonderful childhood, I guess, because even with all the negativity and experiences that I had, all of the good things that were there to boost me, I became very wise for my age. I matured at such a young age, and the things that people made mistakes with, I would never make mistakes with, and I just became very intelligent, and that, I think, is something that I would never want to change. I don't think that there's anything for right now that I could go back and change, because everything that's happened, it's really made me a better person. And I'm not perfect because, everybody has flaws and good things that they're good at. And I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at, and I'm working on those things to try to be at least proficient or satisfactory in the things I'm not good at. I'm going to end this video now, but just remember, Tim, that when you do get older, and you will get older, there were a lot of great things that you experienced, a lot of happy things, and don't ever lose sight of that. Don't ever lose sight of it, because you don't want to live in the dark anymore, and you know you don't. And I guess this is for future Tim, because I'm in the present. Future Tim, you can do so much. We can do so much. We are very good at things, and don't let the past stop us, because we can't change the past. But what we can do is move to a better future, and whether or not that has to do with the world, our own world, is what matters, and the pursuit of happiness, because that's what your goal in life is. You want to be happy, and you'll do anything at a cost to find that happiness. And when you do, just know that right now I'm happy for you if you have, and if you haven't, then we still have some work to do, because I would never give up on you. So there's no reason you should ever give up on yourself, because I am you, and I'm not being overly optimistic or positive. We had our troublesome and our roadblocks, but even with all the things that happen in the future, if more bad things happen, they've only made us stronger. So the thing I need to just let you know is that there are good memories, and don't give up. Don't give up on yourself.